Hi, Andy Frazier here with myWorth, and today we have the exciting opportunity to talk to Ariel LaFond, the founder of Aha Money. And what's really awesome about what I think we're going to hear from her is her journey from making the decision to leave corporate America and launch her own business, and how she helps other female entrepreneurs really navigate some of the complexities of running their own business. And I'm just super excited to get started, so let's dive right in. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of this discussion today. It's always so exciting to talk with somebody who has taken a bold leap to do something kind of different. So I'm really excited for you to share with us how you ended up in New York City and kind of how you ended up in corporate America. Maybe you can give us a little background.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I ended up in New York. I'm from New Jersey. So then I went to school in Boston after that, and I loved Boston. It was amazing for college. It was like, this is too small forever, and there's no place like New York. I love New York so much. I was very happy to come back, and I was lucky to get the opportunity to work here at PwC. So it was a really seamless transition, and it was the best move I've ever made.
And for those of you that don't know, PwC is PricewaterhouseCoopers. And so what did you do there? Because I think this is where we both really connected a little bit. So what did you do there at PwC?
So I worked in their high net worth individual tax group, which is, in short, preparing tax returns for extremely wealthy people. Majority of my clients were billionaires, which was very interesting. I learned so much, such a great infrastructure, but I knew it wasn't for me forever.
Going from having a very stable job and kind of career path, you know, what was stirring inside of you that made you really decide, hey, I'm ready to do something kind of different, or I'm ready to really branch out on my own? That takes a lot of guts and courage.
It does, and it was something I never in a million years imagined I would do. I love stability, I love the corporate red tape, I love the structure, and I just never really imagined myself making a move. I wasn't exactly sure what the move would be. And then I always just thought I'd work for a much smaller firm or do the same thing somewhere else. And then so many of my friends kept asking me questions like, they're lawyers, they're doctors, they don't know how to set up their 401k, they don't know how to do their tax returns, and this isn't something you learn in school. And they didn't want to use their parents' accountant because they felt like they couldn't really relate. So it kind of started there. I was helping my friends make budgets, helping my friends afford rent, helping my friends sign on with new jobs and navigate that type of area. And then from there, it was more referrals. My friend is starting a business. Can you help with the bookkeeping? Can you help with the taxes? And then it just kind of snowballed into a niche I never really knew existed.
You know, so many people are doing side gigs and side hustles these days, and there are some real differences, especially around taxes and how do you plan for the future when you're on your own freelancing or doing some of these. So, it sounds like that's kind of part of your focus there.
I consider myself almost like an outsourced CFO. You know, I'm not just doing the taxes, I'm helping them make budgeting decisions for their business and helping them grow and see the next step and help them understand what they don't know. So it's been a lot of fun.
So I think it's always interesting about how different people have different, you know, motivations to learn about money. Do you find that your clients like to learn what you're doing for them, or are they more like, I don't really want to know anything? And kind of what is that experience like for you?
I definitely have a mix of both of those. I have people that want to be heavily involved and are interested in learning about what I'm doing for them, which for me is fun because I like to teach them, and I want people to be more educated about where their money's going or what I'm doing. I don't want anyone to ever be blindsided. At the same time, I do have clients that are just so creative that they are just not interested in grasping whatsoever, which is funny, that they just don't really see it as, they don't realize how much of their business needs to be finance driven. But I do teach everyone a little something, even if they aren't very finance minded. It's good for them to know. I think they need to know.
Yeah, sure. Do you miss anything about corporate America?
That's a good question too. I do. I love the people. I love my people now too. I'm very lucky to have the most amazing clients. I use my corporate America network a lot to learn. So there are so many good resources out there. My firm has alumni events. I still go back. There's always new legislation. There's new things to learn. And I really think it is an amazing place to learn.
You know, I think that it takes a lot of guts, right, to make that kind of move and to say, I'm going to actually leave one thing and start and launch something else or go somewhere else, right? Can you think back to, like, what was there one defining moment that really was the catalyst for you saying, I'm ready now? Or was there anything leading up to that? I think that's something that our listeners certainly would like to hear about.
For me, it was the name, actually. I always knew I wanted to do something. I didn't know if it was going to be a blog or maybe like a platform. I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do, but I knew that there was some type of disconnect between finance and people in my demographic. I just feel like people have a really hard time relating to your typical accountant, and I wanted to bridge that gap. I just wasn't exactly sure how or what it was going to be. So the first thing absolutely was the name. Once I thought of Money, I was like, this is catchy. The millennials or my generation will think this is fun. And so from there, I was like, I'll start a blog or I'll start a website. I'll start something because I love this name so much. I want to put it out there. And then finding my first client was definitely the biggest jump. I wasn't expecting it to happen. I actually wanted to buy one of her products off Instagram. We met. She asked me what I did for work. I told her I was an accountant, and she said to me, I need an accountant. Can you start tomorrow? And I've been her right-hand man ever since. She has taught me so much about being an entrepreneur just from watching her business grow, and it has really taken off, and that's what led me to do it. It's all about meeting people, networking, things like that, and it just kind of really fell into place. I never expected to happen.
Right. You know, I've been attending a lot of different conferences and events, and I'm finding that there are so many women and girls just trying to go out and start and launch businesses. There's a real appetite for that. You've kind of geared your entire business towards working with female entrepreneurs, and I'm sure you wouldn't, you know, be selective on that, but how did you know that that was a kind of an area that you really wanted to specialize?
I think it's more the connection, right? I am a certain way. I am very particular. I get very anxious in a way about things getting done the way I want them done and timely, and you know, I'm not laid back in that sense, and I find that a lot of entrepreneurs are similar. So I think that it's more of a personality fit. It's my clientele can relate to me and vice versa. So I think that's kind of how I fell into that niche a little bit.
So I like to ask everybody that I talk to a couple of like real rapid fire questions. Do you mind doing a kind of a real rapid fire?
Let's do it.
And then sometimes this leads into deeper conversations, but we'll get started. So what was your first like moment that you remember money meaning something? Like, you know, without maybe giving us the whole story, was there a phrase you heard or an event that maybe happened that you said, oh, this means something? Do you remember?
From a young age, my dad always said cash is king. My parents are not financially savvy. That's not their expertise, but they always thought if they could pay for something with cash, then that's good. So they never financed anything. They never had credit cards growing up. They were always all about cash, which, you know, has its benefits and pros and cons, I guess you could say. But for me, I always kept that in the back of my head, like I'm never gonna buy something I can't afford.
Now, when you think about all your friends, do you find that there's a lot of different personalities around money with your friend group and even the women that you're working with as clients there too?
Absolutely. Some people are way more conservative than others. I think a lot of it is based on your upbringing, right? Like what you are surrounded by growing up. And I mean, in New York City, it's really difficult to afford a lifestyle here, and there are definitely some people living beyond their means, some people that are working extra hard to meet their means, so it's definitely interesting to see what other people are doing.
You know, a lot of the women I meet, they get hesitant about starting their own business because they don't have a safety net. They don't have, you know, maybe family money or money saved up, or they feel like they can't really do that because there's no security if it doesn't work out. And I know that you kind of experienced that a little bit yourself. Would you share with us kind of what you felt or what advice you might give somebody else that's kind of in that same situation?
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly how I felt, and I feel like a lot of brands or like businesses I see out there, I know that they are able to do that because they have a backup plan.
Right.
So for me, that wasn't the case, and I knew I needed to really work to make sure that I could have a backup plan if this didn't work out. And I think setting goals, very specific goals as to when you could go out and do your own thing is really how it worked out for me. I knew I wanted to be able to pay my rent for a whole year before I went out and started my own business, because otherwise I wouldn't have the safety net, and I wanted to make sure I always had a backup plan. So I think a contingency plan is always extremely important.
I think that's what's so great about that is that by having that safety net, a little bit of knowing you had rent saved up for a year, it gave you the freedom to be able to really focus on your business instead of having to make decisions on your business based on, I have money to pay my rent. So that's really wise advice there. When I think about launching businesses, or I hear about people launching business, I think there's a real distinct difference between having a really great idea and building a business on it. Do you see anything with your work with some of the entrepreneurs that you work with around the difference between the two that maybe you could share with our listeners?
Absolutely. I would say that all of my clients are fantastic with branding. They have an idea and they have a brand and they can really run with it. But they need to understand the financial component of that. Maybe they have an idea to create a product, hypothetically, and they can't figure out their margins on the product. They need someone that can help them bring it to market in a way that is profitable. At the end of the day, it's a great product, but is it making you money on the back end? So that is kind of where I come in, and I'm really happy to be able to kind of bring the two together, because I do think that's a tough sweet spot to find.
Great. What piece of advice would you give them when it comes to kind of handling their own finances or their own money decisions?
It's hard to know what to do in your own personal situation, and I think a lot of people get really overwhelmed, right? If you're not sure where to start or where to go from where you're at, then you might just end up getting super intimidated and doing nothing, which I think is a big problem that a lot of people have. So I would say to just find a good resource. You don't have to do everything yourself. There are very many reasonable resources out there. Even myWorth is an amazing platform to take a look at where to get started. And I think just really taking the leap to find someone that can help you figure out what you need to do is an amazing start.
Well, thank you so much for being here and for being so willing to share your journey. I'm sure there's other people out there that will look at what you've done and it'll give them some inspiration to be able to consider, taking a leap just like you did. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.